we don't pay ourselves a lot. We pay ourselves enough to furnish our bills.
Okay. So, I mean, so most of it is still in, I mean, you own the equities.
In fact, yes. In fact, we are one of the least paid employees in terms of salary in the organization.
Okay, so you are still giving a lot to the company.
So I think that is the conventional wisdom, right? That Indians don't pay
Yeah.
for products. But and we've started monetization only like few months back, and it's still early for us. But what we're seeing in terms of numbers that are coming in terms of our daily sales, we feel that is not true at all.
So hello everyone. Today we have with us Tamanjit Bindra sir, who is the co-founder of Kaagaz, and he's also the co-founder of Sorted AI. So welcome you sir. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So to start with, we would like to know the story. I mean, how it all got started. I mean, how did Kaagaz happen? And before that, when you started up for the first time, how did you decide that you want to start up? And so basically, your story up to this point.
Sure. Ishuk, for me, it was kind of a going with the flow. I kind of never thought that I would be starting up or I would be doing my own thing ever. It was more of a flow. I've been keeping myself, trying to move myself into situations where I'm uncomfortable. Because when I feel I'm uncomfortable, I would be growing more. And it was the natural outcome of that. So essentially what happened was I was working. So post college, I worked with a service-based company. Working with a service-based company, and at that time, product-based companies weren't really a thing when I passed out of college. I worked with better systems, and in service-based companies, the problem that I felt was that unless you have a lot of work, I felt that I was kind of wasting away my time as a youngster, and since I was on projects which were going through a cycle and would have build releases which would last, which would take 6 months to a year. I was kind of very restless. Because of lack of other things, I thought I would go ahead and quit and prepare for civil services. I did that. I quit my job, prepared for it for 2 years, got through mains. Unfortunately, couldn't make it to the final merit list. And then, because of some personal issues, I decided that it's time that I get back to the industry. At that time, internet era in India kind of boomed. The likes of Paytm were coming up. Times Internet was, I think, one of the first movers in all of this. And I was lucky enough to join Magic Picks at that time. There I was kind of, introduced to a world of tech that I had never seen before. A lot of open source tech, which I had not seen before. Love working on tough problems, which I got. And since then, I always thought, I thought that I'm not going to be quit tech anymore. I would want to stay in tech for as long as I can be. And from there on, it was more of a natural journey. I was working in a large organization. I thought I should now work for a smaller organization. So I quit from Magic Books eventually after 3 years and moved to a smaller organization called Raftar. From there, I thought I should move to even a smaller organization. So I joined Tapme as the first employee. There I met Snehanshu and Gaurav, my co-founders. They were the co-founders. I was the first employee at Tapme. We did that for 3 years, and when we were shutting down Tapme, we thought. So Snehanshu came up with an idea, and he introduced what eventually became Sorted AI. I joined up. So it was more of a natural flow, looking for more, for steeper parts along the way. I think that's how it was. Uh, from there on, sorted was an interesting problem that we were solving. So what sorted it was, it was scan through your phone and get all the important documents sorted out, sorted into different categories, extract important information, and set up reminders. I think we did a decent job in terms of extracting important information out of a lot of documents. But I think it still is a product which is kind of before its time. I think, and we were kind of struggling with getting the audience for it, and struggling with getting more and more people to use it as a natural flow for their lives. So it was a lot of it was related to documents. So we thought that we should make something which people generally use, naturally use for documents, and that's when we thought we make a scanner, which was going to be an a app which would help us get new users for sorted, and that's when Kaagaz came in and we launched Kaagaz. This was around June sometime last year, and into 2020. And that's when Chinese app ban happened, and we did some smart movement marketing through word of mouth, that this is an Indian app that would essentially help you do the same thing that Cam Scanner did. And since Cam Scanner is now banned, you could go ahead and use this. And we instantly got a lot of love from the Indian user base, and we got more than 1 lakh downloads in a night. And from there on, it's been great journey, because when we started working eventually on Kaagaz, we were introduced to a whole new audience, which we typically call the Bharat audience. We had never thought a lot of things that we take for granted in terms of using tech. This is kind of very new for them. These are the people who have recently come onto the internet in the last 3 to 4 years, post smartphones and internet getting cheap in India, and a lot of things that we take for granted, since we come from a place where we've used desktops and laptops and kind of naturally progress towards it, skip all of that and get to a generation which hasn't used all that tech, hand over a smartphone to them with an internet, and you would find the Bharat audience that you're looking for. And for them, a lot of things, even as simple as share icons, they aren't really sure what it means and how it works. So building for this kind of an audience has been an eye opener for us, and so it's like kind of day one for us every day in that sense.
Yeah, feels great, sir. अभी तक जो भी जर्नी रही है, so एक दो क्वेश्चन जो मेरे दिमाग में आते हैं. First is that जैसे you said that we got more than 1 lakh downloads in a day, single day, right? So तो आप लोगों ने scale कैसे किया, first thing, and then I see a lot of new features being added to Kaagaz. जैसे मैं भी use करता हूँ app, so I see a lot of new features being added, and also it's really मतलब बहुत आसानी से use कर सकता है कोई भी इंसान Kaagaz app को. So how has it been in terms of scaling, and what are your future plans?
So I think in terms of scaling, the first principle that we followed, and I kind of personally believe in that a lot, is that we don't get stuff to the servers till it's required. Mobile phones by themselves are as good as a laptop that you're speaking to me with, and they have a lot of compute power themselves. So as a principle, whatever can be on the device, we keep it on the device and not get it to servers. So it helps us scale more, because in fact the first version or first few versions of the app was completely offline. Scanning the basic stuff, it still is kind of offline. A lot of things happen on the thing. We do use server, but that is more for personalized way in which your whole app would look like, or wherever we feel that this requires more of a personalized touch for everyone as an individual. That's where we get in the servers, but still a lot of things still run offline. So that helps us scale a lot easily, because we don't have to worry about a lot of traffic coming onto a service in that sense. And I think that's still the smarter way, because it also helps you develop tech cheaper, because Android phone is still not something that you are paying for in terms of compute, while servers are costly in that sense. So that's that. In terms of scaling of product, or how the features we keep on adding. Interestingly, so the approach we've taken has been a mix of whatever users tell us in terms of usage, and also what data that we have in terms of analytics that we see in terms of usage of that. So if we see that a particular feature in the app is being used more, we tend to question more around that as to why is this being used more, and then that leads to a natural progression of how the app would look. Scaling is kind of tougher, and it takes a lot of iterations when it comes to the UX point of view, the user experience point of view. Because as I told you, Bharat user is someone who requires everything to be served on plate very simple. So it takes a few iterations, and we struggle with that a lot in terms of asking why is it still not working, and eventually we reach a place where it's kind of working. And so for every feature in the app, we try to look for an MVP, which is we launch as an MVP, and then we look for the product market fit for that.
Got it. So let's start with Kaagaz, right? You said that you and your two other co-founders, you're working on Sorted AI, and then at some point of time, like when COVID happened, you decided to start Kaagaz, and then the journey has been great so far. So now that you have scaled and you have so many users, so you must have added your employees at some point of time, right? Some of the employees apart from the co-founders.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So first of all, how do you decide to like the first few employees of the company, and then since the company is very small, how do you motivate, and what do you think motivates people to join you at the first place?
People don't want to join startups. That's the true reality. We don't pay a lot, and we still struggle with that a lot. Our biggest challenge, and that's why in terms of handling it as a process, I might personally take care of it, is hiring for tech, because with tech, what has happened is that compensations are hitting the roof. They have been like at an all-time high for now, and in that sense, it is a struggle. But and in fact, so our first employee was an intern who was working with us, who eventually we converted into an employee. That was with Sorted AI, and she eventually moved with Kaagaz with us. The first actual hire was our Android lead, who's also from AIT, by the way. He was looking for a job, and he kind of applied with Kaagaz, and when we spoke, we realized we're from the same college. So what I feel works for us to a certain extent is that we try to filter out the non-serious candidates as much as we can, because a lot of people use startups as testing ground for their future interviews. So they take interviews with us, and see if they can pass the interviews, get an offer, and then use that offer for either getting a better offer from another company, or getting a better deal with their current employees, with their current employers. So for that, we essentially typically have a take-home test, which essentially people tend to solve. So a lot of non-serious candidates kind of move out, and then post that, it's more of technical, interview and everything. Eventually, the most important thing that and a lot of people also get filtered at that place is the culture fit. So we are a very small team. We are still in single digits. We are less than 10 employees, and we plan to keep it that fit. keep a small team as long as possible, because the conventional wisdom is that moment you're scaling up, have as many employees as you can so that you can start growing faster. Uh, we kind of don't believe in that as a team. Me, Snehanshu, and Gaurav. We feel that and we've seen that as an example with WhatsApp as well. We've been able to develop a huge B2C product with a very small team, less than 20 employees. So we feel that that is still possible, and that's where the culture fit part comes in. Uh, we try to gauge whether the person is kind of self starter, self mover, wants to learn. So a lot of people who want to join you know small startups or startups which are at seed stage or around that, is because they want to learn a lot. Because when you're in a startup, you learn across your you don't get work which is related just to your field, but a lot of work across fields, and you have to manage a lot of things on your own. So we look for people who are kind of motivated with that kind of a challenge. And I think those people who eventually stick and stay around with us are those kind of people who love the challenge of working in a small district setup, and want to take up stuff which is not strictly related to their own task, but helps them, move or work across functions. So I think that's one of the reasons, or one of the major reasons why people come and stay with us in terms of work.
Mhm. Okay. And one more question which I have around the teams is that since for you it might be different, but let's say आप लोगों ने जब start किया था when you were working with Sorted AI, right? So the major problem which the people when while starting up face is that they have to look for co-founders at some point of time, and then they have to do this either equity split or some kind of understanding of the distribution between the roles and responsibilities, right? Uh, so for you, how it worked, and then for people who want to start up, how would you advise thinking in terms of both distribution of roles, responsibilities, and then equities later on?
I think a lot of it is dependent on what point in time are you joining the team or the founding team. Whether you are there from day zero, then it makes more sense that you have almost an equal equity split for all the founders. Because eventually, you never know what is going to be the eventual product. Uh, and so I personally feel it makes more sense, because then uh, you know for sure that everyone would be equally motivated, all the founders would be equally motivated. In terms of, so this is the second question. In terms of finding the founders, I think I was lucky in that sense, because we had a work history together. I had worked
Right.
with Snehanshu and Gaurav, and I think that's the most important part in terms of finding co-founders. The first is that you should have a work history together. You should know what kind of work ethics all of you have, and that only comes across when you work together in an organization or other ways on a project or something. And I think another way to look at it is when you have your, task kind of clear cut. So in our case, I was tech all along. So for me, the task was simpler. Uh, Gandhi was looking after product, so it was clear, and Gaurav looks after marketing. So essentially, it's a clear cut this thing, and I think as founders, it helps us because we take care of our own tasks, and at the same time, keep others in check. So all three of us, we keep ourselves in check, because whenever there's a problem in say tech, Gandhi and Gaurav would go ahead and ask me what is the problem and what would be the eventual solution for it, and vice versa. So I think that also helps a lot in terms of finding the right founders. And I think as a personality, you should be kind of open to being criticized, because a lot of people feel that when you're starting up, you kind of get free from the questioning of bosses and everyone else, but you're still answerable. You're still answerable to your co-founders. You're still answerable to your team, because A lot of the team is there because they saw something in you, or they saw, they felt something is right about you, and that's why they want to kind of be there because you are there. So you are answerable to your team, you're answerable to your co-founders, and to your clients as well. So I think being open and receptive to criticism and positively acting on it, I think uh, that's one of the major key factors that keeps a team together in terms of finding co-founders. Rest everything else works out on its own. If you have a stronger team in terms of founding team, I think rest everything would work out. It's not a pure love relationship. We have our disagreements. In fact, we have a morning call every day at 10 a.m. and no day goes when we don't have a fight in that. So we have a fight almost every day on something or the other. But I think that's part of the game. Unless you are questioning each other, you would know. I mean, if you feel that everything is going right, uh, so for me personally, my paranoia goes up, and I'm kind of like, there's something wrong. Why does everything feel right? So in that sense, I think it's important to have a team which understands the fact that there would be conflicts and accepts criticism. So that's one of the important things about finding co-founders. In terms of equity split, as I said, if you started off together, it makes more sense that you have an almost equal equity split. Or if if you feel that you're going to be working in a setup which requires a lot. So, for example, in a lot of operation-heavy companies, it makes more sense that someone who's going to be the COO of the company has a higher equity, because a lot of work is going to be, or a lot of this problem is going to be in solving the operation part of it. But and if you're joining in late, it makes sense that someone who's actually struggled and got to a point where they have product market fit, they have a high equity because they've already solved the bigger
Sorry.
problems. They've already solved the bigger problem, and you're kind of joining in when things are a bit easier. So yeah, I think, or if you answer all of these questions, you'll find a balance of what the equity split should be.
Okay, so एक चीज आपने बताया कि you there hasn't been a day when there जब disagreements नहीं होते हैं. So let's say at those points, right, when you have disagreements, so do you have any strategy या फिर कोई एक तरीका है जो यूज करते हैं आप लोग जब disagreements होते हैं? How do you reach a conclusion, like what should be the future steps you want to take?
Yeah, I think what worked for us is that we end the argument there itself, in the call itself, even if it means the call gets extended for a longer duration of time. But we come to a conclusion in that call itself. We don't take home grudges. I think that's most important part of it. Once you do that, there is no negative feeling when you're working there, because you are not going to be taking home grudges. You have a solution right there, and eventually I think that's something that's worked for us.
Okay. And so एक और question जो आता है दिमाग में कि since you started up after you said that you were working together in Sorted AI and then you started Kaagaz, and then so we need funds to start up, right? And then being a tech company, there are variety of expenses which you need to take care of. So first of all, we would like to know that how did you take care of that? I mean, did you bootstrap, or did you starting with when you left your job, did you all pull together your savings? And now we know that Kaagaz has been funded. So how did that journey go, and up to this point?
Yeah, so we started off with bootstrapping only. Pulled in some funds to start off the company, and so as long as our strategy was kind of clear. We will not hire people till the time we are sure that we will be able to pay salaries to them. So with that in mind, we kind of, and we were not taking salaries ourselves. So we kind of kept that in mind, and we bootstrapped till we found product market fit for our this thing. And that was a long time for us because sort kind of we did never found product market fit for it. So only with Kaagaz that we found, and post that we raised around, and we then eventually went on to Happy. So I think what's most important is that you realize that when you're running a company, you are going to you have to be, neck deep in the work yourself with your part of this thing, and you have to be comfortable with that. In fact, it's been almost 2 years plus that Kaagaz has been around, and I still do most of the coding for backend, and that's how it is. You have to love doing what your role is and keep doing that as long as you feel that the company requires you to. And yeah, I mean, that's, I think, the major part of it. In terms of raising funds, it does help eventually that, when you raise funds, you're able to hire more people. But I think raising fund, keeping in mind how much you're eventually going to be, how much equity you're going to be giving over, I think you have to keep that in mind. I feel, if the company or the founders have, uh, you know, uh, in terms of ownership of the company, as long as you can have more ownership of the company for a longer duration of time, you'll be in a role where you can take the right decisions for the company. And I think that's how we've also looked at it. We've raised only when we require to, otherwise, we kind of have kept our budget low and well stacked in that sense.
Also, in terms of, let's say, people, in your case, आप लोगों ने साथ में शुरू किया था, right? So as you mentioned that you still are a very small team, it feels so good, right? Because you have millions of users, around close to a million, right? So having that many user base, and then you say that you still are a small people team, and running a product company. So how does the everyday look like at Kaagaz? And the second thing which I would like to know is that uh, is it possible for other product companies as well to be lean? Let's say have a very small team, very focused and small team, and then still cater to a million and more users. I mean, basically build a product which millions of users
Right.
can use.
So in terms of numbers, we have more than 15 million downloads on the Play Store, and our monthly active users is 3 million plus. So I mean, in
Yes.
terms of that, we are proud of the fact that we serve that many people to the very small team. And so the uh, general advice that I would like to give out on this is that hire only when you feel the things are breaking. If you hire for a role and you eventually struggle to find work for them, that's a bigger problem, because then you'll have to eventually ask some people to leave because you really don't have work for them. So hire only when you're sure that you have enough things are breaking in the organization. I think that's the rule that we follow till now. And so, I mean, and we've hired people who are kind of, uh, hands-on always. So even if it means that we're hiring a very senior role. So as I said, Chandra, who's from AIT himself, he joined. He's 10 years plus of experience. He joined us as Android lead, but uh, you know we told him straight away that till the time we have enough problem on our plate, we'll not be hiring people on the Android team itself. You'll have to code yourself till the time we feel that now we need to break up, break away from smaller setup. We would be hiring only in periods, and in fact, hiring closure also takes a lot of time. So we hired Sharindra, I think, in November of 2020, and our next hire eventually we closed uh, almost a year later, in October or November 2021. So For one whole year, Shainder was the only one who was doing the Android coding. So, I mean, the general rule of thumb that we followed is hire people who are hands-on themselves, and even if it means someone who's senior, uh, that's what it is. I'm sorry, I think I missed the other part of your question.
Yeah. So what I wanted to ask was, for example, you have 15 millions and counting downloads, right? So having a product, building a product for those many users, and then with such a small team. So is it possible for other products as well, other teams as well, to do so well with such a small team?
Yeah, I think it is possible as long as you. It is possible if you are a very tech-heavy company. So the beauty of building pure tech companies is that with a small team you can build a product which can serve a lot of people, and it's like build it once and sell it thousands of times. It becomes difficult with operational companies, like Swiggy and Zomato, because there you have to have a lot of people on board who are going to be working on ground, as your blue collared or gray collared employees. But when you're coming, we are making a pure tech company. Uh, I think it is possible. And I think that's how it should be also. In terms of this thing. Unless you're clear that this is a milestone that you would want to reach in this much amount of time, and you have your whole path paved out. I feel hiring a lot of people doesn't make sense, and we've not had very clear path in terms of our growth or of the product. Also, we only grow as to what our product grows also as to whatever our users tell us. So I don't know. I think we kind of do things differently, but we don't hire a lot of people, and we hire only when we feel that we need more hands-on tech in terms of growing the product.
Okay, so now I see you posting a lot of things on LinkedIn. Your thoughts, I have been reading them and quite impressed with that. One of your posts, I would read it out, quoting, the sense of accomplishment and fulfillment that one gets from having paid users can't be matched with anything else. No amount of money, no amount of VC money can make you feel more secure about a business, about your business, than a customer actually paying for your product. So, yeah, so can you comment a bit more on this? And also, adding to this, we know that India is a price-sensitive market, and people, think many times before paying for a product. So, how I have seen that Kaagaz is charging very less as compared to, Adobe or other companies which charge for the same product. So it makes a lot of sense for us to use. So how has that journey been? And then what is the future you're seeing for Kaagaz in terms of pricing for India?
Yeah, so I think that is the conventional wisdom, right? That Indians don't pay for products, and we've started monetization only like few months back, and it's still early for us. But what we're seeing in terms of numbers that are coming in terms of our daily sales, we feel that is not true at all. Price sensitive is kind of true, but I think Indians don't pay after looking at a price. They pay if that the service or the product that they're getting, in their head, that is worth the price. So it's not that they would not pay for $1,000 for a product. They would pay $1,000, and they do that for Hotstar as well. But if they feel that the product that eventually would be is worth that much amount of money,
if it is adding so much of value.
Yes. So I think it's not the price sensitive problem. It's the whether the product matches their expectations to that extent. And I think that's where that's what our experience has been. That if you price it correctly in terms of what they feel the current value is, and we've actually experimented a lot with pricing till now, and we are doing that almost every day still. And we've come to a sweet spot right now that we would eventually keep changing because our product is also growing in that sense. And answering to this thing that what Adobe and everyone else charge a lot versus what Indians do. I think Adobe and all they kind of build for a much more mature market because they build products for desktop and laptops, and mobile is just an extended version of it. But we are doing it the other way around. We are building for mobile, and laptop or desktop would be an extended version of the mobile because that's how we think in terms of building the product. And they they build for a audience which is mature enough, and they use it very professionally. We're building for an audience which is kind of discovering that mobile phones can also be used for their business or for their day-to-day tasks related to the work of business. So I think that's where the difference is, and I mean that's how it is for us. I mean that's what we've seen and experienced, and I mean it's in terms of what my quote was. I think I still feel that is correct, and why? Because when you raise VC money, amount of money that you've raised versus what your expenses are monthly, you calculate a runway. When you have people paying for your product, you can have an infinite runway, right? You would never eventually be running out of money because money is eventually going to be helping you break even and eventually getting your runway, which is going to be infinite. So I think that's the confidence that you get that your product or your business can go for a very long duration of time and you would not die. And it makes you feel more secure because you've struggled for like 2 to 4 years to find that kind of feeling wherein you feel that things are kind of more stable now versus when you were starting it out. So yeah.
So one more question which came to my mind when you mentioned about the finances side. So do you all pay yourself, the co-founders, or is it like just the equity up to this point?
Yeah, we started paying ourselves after we raised a seed round. We started paying ourselves. So that was 2 years back. We don't pay ourselves a lot. We pay ourselves enough to help us furnish our bills.
Okay, so I mean, so most of it is still in. I mean, you own the equities.
In fact, yes. In fact, we are one of the least paid employees in terms of salary in the organization.
Okay, so you are still giving a lot to the company. So that's to say.
Yes.
Okay, and final question is, I mean, what one advice do you think is overrated in the startup world, or or in general in the startup world when people start their companies?
I think two things are. One is that I think we've already talked about it a lot. Is Indians don't pay. I think that's overrated. Indians do pay, and we're seeing that as an example. And another is that you have to have it all figured out, whether it's in terms of what your business is going to be, or as simple as what you want to do after your 10th class or your 12th class. It's okay. You don't have to figure it all out. Life is a journey, and you can take it only one step at a time. So you'll find something out for yourself that's going to be helpful. Just enjoy the journey and take it one step at a time, and you get something.